Today let's talk about cheese craziness in Malaysia. I mean, like nowadays, every food is possibly want to put cheese on it. I mean, like at least maybe like a pizza with cheese is acceptable. Of course, it won't be chicken with cheese become chicken parmigiano. But I mean, like murtabak with cheese, kway teow with cheese, and even like this thing, like everything we want to put cheese on. Well, putting cheese on food, it probably kind of like innovation of the time. But let me tell you this, not all cheese put on the food is the actual cheese. I mean the real one. It is very likely a processed cheese, or simply say it as a fake cheese, because some of the product has no actual cheese on it. Let me tell a little bit what is the real cheese is actually on, whether how to process it, the ingredient, and why the processed cheese appeared in the market. And first thing first, yeah, Malaysia is a have hot and humid weather, and dairy industry is not a big thing. In fact, there is only like one major dairy producer in Malaysia which produce the real milk in the first place. The other thing is just a processed repackaged milk imported from Australia or New Zealand, and that's the first thing. And all the things, the real cheese in Malaysia are being imported, almost all of it. Okay, let's talk about what is the real cheese is all about. Cheese is a product made out of a real milk, of course the real milk, not the UHT or the processed one, because the real milk contains some of the enzymes and also some bacteria needed to coagulate the milk and to being pressed into a cheese solids, or like in the white wheel or in the cube that everyone knows about. And if there is like, if the milk used is UHT or what, the process is being like not being like not complete at all. So the milk is simply like liquid all time. And the real milk, the preferably the fresh cow's milk, which will be mixed with the cow's rennet. Rennet is can actually the enzyme come from the cow's stomach and then being processed into like soft solid, for example mozzarella and feta cheese. And it also can be produced pressed further into a solid, like in the shape of wheel, for example like parmigiano reggiano and gouda cheese. And there are quite a number of variety of the real cheese existed around the world. For example, like I said earlier, mozzarella, Gouda, and also the famous Parmigiano Reggiano. Outside of Parma region of Italy is known as Parmesan. Only the authentic real Parmesan can be called Parmigiano Reggiano. And also some of the novelty cheese, for example Stilton blue cheese, which because it start to rotten, but taste is still acceptable according to the Englishman. I don't know why. And also there are some cheeses made not from cow's milk, but made from sheep's milk, or cow's not cow sheep's milk, goat milk, and also buffalo's milk as well. For example, ricotta cheese used in Italy, they use sheep's milk to process it into cheese. So the process to making cheese is largely existed in the country that already have a large dairy industry. For example, the largest producer of cheese is actually United States of America, because there are a lot of dairy industries there. And because to like preserve the surplus of milk, because the fresh milk need to have a large refrigeration complex to keep it all fresh, and it's much more preferable to process all the unsold milk, or that's all surplus milk, into the cheese making. And that is why like United States as the largest producer of cheese in the world, the real one. And also there are larger production of cheese in France, in the Netherlands, in Italy, in Spain, and Russia, in Turkey, also in Australia, and also New Zealand, where all the dairy industry is really big there. And all the surplus milk will be processed into cheese. And the interesting thing is that cheese is not a traditional food in Malaysia. It's actually like brought from somewhere. In fact, the word in Malay word, the word keju is come from the word Portuguese cazo, which is nearly the same as Italian casu and actually derived from the word Latin caseus, which means milk. And because of the Southeast Asia region is mostly a tropical, hot and humid weather, and because of this climate, it is not really accommodative for the dairy industry. In fact, because before the deforestation in the middle 20th century onwards, there are little space to raise cattle for the dairy industry. So that's why there is a lack of initiative to preserve the milk, because the number of the cow is already little already. And also quite a number of Asian population, including Malaysian, are lactose intolerant, which means that not really preferable to drink milk, otherwise you will have like stomach ache until the next morning. So that's why we arrive into the thing that what makes a fake cheese. So because of the real cheese is like only mainly existed in the temperate what kind of a temperate region climate, for example in Europe, in continental America, Australia and New Zealand. That is why like all the cheese being imported to Malaysia, I mean the real one, even the one slice of Gouda can reach up to 10 US dollar, about 40 ringgit in the novelty supermarket. Real cheese is really expensive and out of reach of the normal population, where most of Malaysians are only earn about 50 to 100 ringgit per day. Nobody wants to spend half their daily salary only spending on one slice of cheese. So that's why processed cheese came in the first place. So and because the processed cheese has quite a tons of kind of ingredient you might never heard of. Actually, the only a few percentage, maybe 10% or less of real cheese, which all been dehydrated, mixed together with all these ingredients to make a processed cheese or fake cheese that people like putting every food on in Malaysia. The ingredients, I will show you one by one the ingredient of the cheesy cheese spread. Actually kind of fake cheese popularly used for like spreading all kind of cheese. For example, the ingredients are soybean oil, pickled vegetable, sugar, vinegar, monosodium glutamate, what else, xanthan gum, and all these fancy artificial flavoring and coloring, and also contain soybean, egg and milk. This is only one product. Actually, there are other products, yeah, but the ingredients is in as much similar. Let me tell you one by one. Maybe you know what is oil, pickle, sugar, and vinegar. Monosodium glutamate is actually being the refined from cassava and sugarcane, which is highly chemical processed product. And also xanthan gum. Xanthan gum is actually an interesting ingredient. If you want to know what is xanthan gum, it's actually derived from a bacteria which cause your vegetable or fruit to become black. You see that black spot in the vegetables, for example in broccoli or in banana, there's a black spot there. The bacteria that cause that thing being picked there artificially bred in the laboratory and then being processed in so that they can get something called xanthan gum. You may be so worried about what vaccines have inside, you don't know, but when the fake cheese, the processed cheese product has such a thing that you might have no idea where they come from, you have no problem because it tastes so tasty. That is why and because processed cheese is is way cheaper than the actual cheese. That is why like all these processed cheese, the fake cheese being put in all food in the local Malaysian food possible. Everything, murtabak, what else, kway teow and lemak. Please stop this. Please stop this trend, because not only this is like kind of is this kind of like it is kind of a big scene, especially for Malaysian who really like their food authentic and original, like putting cheese in everything. Unacceptable. But in the thing is, why people use processed cheese instead of real cheese? Number one, it is much more durable and also cheaper, as mentioned before. It is much more durable because in the hot and humid weather, real cheese can spoil really quick, especially outside the refrigeration, which is limited to the air conditioned building and also refrigerated. So not everyone can make like fancy cheese on their own, fancy cheese, cheesy meal on their own. So if your processed cheese put outside in the sun for like 1 or 2 days, it doesn't become bad. So people prefer like usually the restaurant seller prefer the processed cheese because it's much more durable and can put anywhere in the 30-degree weather. And some of the processed cheese is actually not legally called cheese because it is not an actual cheese. It is kind of a cheese flavored product or processed cheese product. The analog or the similarity is might be like you might heard of chicken flavored snack. It is very likely doesn't have snack or very little chicken stock inside, but still you don't call it chicken somehow. And at the end, if you see something cheesy in Malaysian food menu in a restaurant or what, it is very likely it's not a real cheese. Real cheese is expensive. It need to be imported from Europe or from Australia and New Zealand, and most likely processed cheese is being used to serve the food because processed cheese is much cheaper and much more durable in the hot and humid weather. Yes, I'm also talking about Kraft single cheese used in burgers as well. That is also processed cheese, not the real thing. And please don't desacralize Malaysian food putting on cheese on it. Not only it is not authentic, but it is, there's all the cheese sauce there.